Hello and welcome back to SSL TLS lecture series. This is episode 10 and I am Saravanan learning along with you. In today's episode, we are going to quickly see a demo of MD5 collision. We discussed about MD5 collision in the last episode, right? We will also see the SHA family of algorithm. In particular, we will see SHA-0, SHA-1 and then we will quickly see the SHA-2. We will also discuss the security of all these algorithms. Then we will focus on the NIST SHA-3 competition. Who are the people competed in the SHA-3 competition? Finally, which algorithm got selected in SHA-3 competition, etc. We also see something called shake algorithm and then Blake 2 algorithm. And all these algorithms typically came from the American, right? The US NIST announced all these standards. So we will also discuss what other countries were doing. In particular, we will see the Chinese SM3 hashing function and the Russian StreeBog hash function, Ukrainian Kupyna hash function, etc. Okay, so let's get started. In the last episode, we discussed about the birthday paradox and birthday attack, right? For example, we can take the MD5. The output of MD5 hash is a 128 bit, right? That means how many possible hash values you can have. The possible hash values you can have is 2 power 100 and 128. So ordinarily, if you think for an attack you need 2 power 128 steps, right? But I told it's not needed, because if we use the birthday attack, all we need is root of 2 power 128, that is 2 power 64 step is needed to produce a MD5 collision. I also told you that in practice it can be produced with much less number of steps, right? I told several researchers who produce a very less collision at very less number of steps. So I don't go into the history again. If you want, you can refer the previous episode. So today we will quickly see a demo of the MD5 collision. Here I have two messages called message 1.bin and message 2.bin. Both are binary messages. So if you look at, you will see 64 byte, right? Both are exactly equal in size. But if you look at these messages 1.bin, you can look at these messages using the octal dump command. So this is the octal dump of message 1. If you look at message 2, you can find both messages are different. Even though it looks same, some of the bytes are different. Some of the bytes are different in these messages. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to dump the output of message 1.bin using the octal dump into a file called m1, and then I will do the same thing for message 2 and dump in another file called m2. You can use the Unix diff command, or you can use the VI editor vimdiff, which can visually show you the difference between these two files. Okay. So if you look at this, everything is same, but this byte is 00 here, whereas this byte is 02 here, right? And similarly, this byte is F55 here and this byte is D5 here, right? So it's not just one bit, entirely 2 byte itself has changed in both the files. Okay. I told you, when you take hashing algorithm, even if you change a single bit, the hash output is going to be completely different, right? Here 2 byte itself has changed. Okay. So it should produce different hash, right? So let's see what happened. So first I am going to produce hash for MD5 for message 1.bin. Okay, message 1.bin. So this is the MD5 hash. Next I am going to produce MD5 hash for message 2.bin. Theoretically I should get two different output, right? Let's see what happened. See, both hash is exactly same. That is what we call as MD5 collision. Okay, so this is the demo of MD5 collision. Your input file is different, but it still produce the same hash value. That's what we mean by MD5 collision. So when the MD5 collision theoretical attack was found, even before it became practical, the American National Institutes of Standards and Technology, with the help of NSA, they immediately designed another algorithm. That is, the designer was NSA. The standardization was done by NIST. So they immediately designed sometime around 1993 another algorithm called secure hash algorithm. This algorithm produces an output of 160 bit output. That means theoretically it should give, if you use the birthday attack, theoretically it should give 2 power 80, right? Within 2 power 80 step, with 2 power 80 step, you should be able to produce a collision. But later some of the researchers found that you actually do not need 2 power 80 steps. You can reach a collision with 2 power 60 steps itself. After some time, some other researchers found that You don't even need a 2 power 60 step. You can hit a collision with just 2 power 33 steps itself. That means using an ordinary laptop computer itself, you can break this SHA. The NSA found the weakness immediately. I think within 2 years itself, they found the weakness even before other people start attacking them. Okay, so what they did was they never told what the weakness to the world. Instead, they silently created another hashing algorithm called SHA-1. So to avoid confusion, the original SHA was given later renamed to SHA-0. So SHA-1 was announced sometime roughly around 1995. But they never told what is the weakness they found in SHA-0. Ultimately, roughly after 3 years, in 1998, two researchers found the weakness in SHA-0 and they published their weakness. The researcher name is, I don't know how exactly to pronounce this name. So one of the fellow name is this and another guy name is this. So SHA-0 is no longer safe, is completely breakable. So you should never ever use SHA-0. Okay. So next we will see about SHA-1. I told you that NSA themselves found the weakness in SHA-0 and within 2 years itself they silently introduced SHA-1 algorithm roughly around 1995. So the SHA-1 is almost similar to SHA-0. So SHA-1 also produces an output of 160 bit. That means output of 160 bit. But that means theoretically you can produce a collision using birthday attack using 2 power 80 steps, right? The SHA-1 algorithm is based on the MD4 family of algorithm. If you remember, MD4 was invented by Ronald Rivers, right? The guy who invented the RC4 cipher and lot of other cipher. So the internal structure of SHA-1 is almost similar to this MD4 family. Even though theoretically it can provide 2 power 80 security, sometime around 2005, some of the Chinese researchers, Chinese cryptographer, they found a security weakness and they demonstrated theoretically, it's a theoretically, not practical. Theoretically, they found out that it can be broken using just 2 power 63 steps. I will tell you the person who demonstrated this in 2005. That's an interesting story. I will tell you later, okay? From that point onwards, it took almost 12 years to convert this theoretical attack into practice. So roughly this year in 2017, some of the Google researchers along with a cryptographer by name Mark Steven, along with few other researchers in Google, right? They finally broke the SHA-1. So they broke the SHA-1 using the same thing, that is 2 power 63 steps. And if you are interested to learn how they broke, you can visit the website called shattered.io. Shattered.io. The shattered SHA stands for SHA, SHA algorithm. Okay, this is the website of the shattered.io, where Google documented along with the other researchers how they broke the SHA-1 hashing algorithm. So you can find all the interesting details here. So let's quickly see a demo of SHA-1 collision. Okay. So I am going to use the same document that the website has provided for demo purpose. So this is the first document I have called shattered.1, shattered-1. So if you look at that, the image here is in blue in color, right? It's in blue color. So these are the researchers who actually broke this, Mark Steven and another team from Google. Okay. The second document, the content is same, but the color is different. The color is red in color, right? That means the binary content is completely different because the color has totally changed, right? So interestingly, if you find the SHA-1 hash for both these documents, theoretically it should be different, but it will be same. That is the collision the researchers found using 2 power 63 operations. So let's see a quick demo. So I have two files, shattered1, shattered2.pdf. Both the file size is same, 422435, 422435. Okay, only the binary content is different. Okay, the file size is still same. So what I am going to do is I am going to take a SHA-1 sum. If you are using Unix or Linux, you can use SHA-1 sum command. I am using a GNU version, so I am prepending a G in front of SHA-1 command. So G SHA-1 sum, the file name is shattered1.pdf, and I am going to take the same SHA-1 algorithm, SHA-1 hashing for shattered2.pdf. So if you look at this, the hash value is exactly same, right? This is what we mean by collision. The file content is different, but the hash is same. That's what we mean by collision. So because of this SHA-1 collision, Google has decided to stop supporting SHA-1 as a secure algorithm. Later all other browser also followed. So if you are using Chrome, Firefox, all these browser, if you end up with a SSL server certificate, right? Let's say when a client connect to a server, typically the server for authentication purpose, it will send what is called a SSL certificate, right? If the certificate, the hashing algorithm used inside the certificate, if it uses SHA-1, automatically the browser will mark it as insecure. Okay. So if you are creating a new certificate, you should never ever use SHA-1. The minimum nowadays is you have to use SHA-256. Okay. We will discuss about what is this SHA-256 a bit later. As soon as people started finding the theoretical attack against SHA-1, the NIST don't want to wait. Before it became practical, it immediately requested the help from NSA, and NSA designed another hash algorithm called SHA-2. This SHA-2 first came sometime in 2001. Okay, it came sometime around 2001. This SHA-2 has 4 different variations. It has a 256-bit output, 512-bit output. If you remember, our SHA-1 guy is 160-bit, right? So SHA-2 is 256, 512. They also have two other mode called 224-bit output as well as 384-bit output. You might be wondering, right, why can't they have a single value? Why we need so many different things, right? The reason is, at that time, the popular algorithm for block cipher is, most of the people were using triple DES for block cipher and AES for block cipher, right? So if you want to use a block cipher along with a hashing function for integrity purpose, both should provide at least same level of security. If one of them is weak, that fellow will become the bottleneck, right? So both should provide same level of security. I told you, right, if you remember my 3-dash episode, the effective, if you use keyring option 1 with 3 different keys, the effective security that 3-dash can provide is 112 bit, right? Roughly 112 bit, even though there is another research paper which says you can bring it down further to 108. Okay, so the roughly it will provide 112 bit security. That means if you want to provide same level of security to a hashing function, I told you, if a hashing output is n bit, due to birthday attack, the effective security is only n by 2, right? That means if your hashing function is, if you want a security of 112, for hashing function you need twice that, right? 2 power 24 you need. Then only, even if you apply birthday attack, it will become 2 power 24 square root, which is nothing but 2 power 112, right? So you will get 112 bit security. So if you want to provide same level of security as a 3-dash block cipher, you need to have at least 224 for hashing. So that's why they created 224. Similarly, I told you AES can operate with 3 different keys, right? Do you remember? 128, 192, 256. That means if you want to provide AES level of security to the hash function, you have to multiply it by 2. Okay. So 128 into 2, you get 256. That's how you got this 256. This one, 2 times 2, 4, 2 9, 18, carry 1, 2 1s are 2, 3, 384, right? This one you will get 512. So that's how you end up with 4 different varieties of SHA-2 hashing algorithm in order to provide same level of security as 3-dash and AES block cipher. Because if your hash function is weaker, then in the whole system your hash function will become the bottleneck. So they don't want to create a bottleneck. They want to provide at least equal amount of security with whatever block cipher you are using. However, the SHA-2 is slower than SHA-1 because it need to handle large amount of data, right? So it's actually slower than SHA-1 algorithm. The security of SHA-2 algorithm, right? For example, if you use SHA-256, if you use the birthday attack, you can break it roughly using 2 power 128 steps. That means the collision resistance is 2 power 128. Similarly, if you are using SHA-512, the collision resistance is roughly 2 power 256. So till today, no one has ever broken the SHA-2 algorithm. So as of today, SHA-2 algorithm is still safe. You can use SHA-2 algorithm. So nowadays, this SHA-25 is the minimum requirement for hashing algorithm. You should not use anything less than this. Okay. If you start any new project, the minimum SHA that you must use is SHA-256. NIST has one worry because the SHA-1 algorithm, SHA-2 algorithm, all these fellows came from the same family called MD4 algorithm. Remember Ronald Rivers who created MD4? So the internal logic which is used in the MD4, it uses a similar logic in SHA-1 and SHA-2. So the NIST has a worry. If people can break SHA-1 algorithm, maybe it's just a matter of time. Maybe after few years, someone can come up with something to break SHA-2 as well, right? Even though till today no one has broken, they got a worry. So they thought that just in case if it was broken, we need a alternate algorithm. So what they did was they announced a competition called SHA-3. If you notice that all the previous algorithm was designed by NSA, SHA-0 was designed by NSA, SHA-1 was designed by NSA, SHA-2 was designed by NSA. But this time NSA don't want to design it. They announced a open competition called SHA-3 competition, and they invited all the best cryptographer all over the world. They invited all the best cryptographer from all over the world. It is similar to the AES competition, if you remember, right? In AES also they invited all the cryptographers from the world so that they can submit their best algorithm. Same thing they did for SHA-3 competition. So the competition was announced sometime around 2007, and roughly 64 team has participated in the competition. 64 different teams submitted their algorithm for SHA-3 competition. Out of that, roughly around 51 algorithm was accepted in the first round. In the first round, they rejected some of them because it was not complying with the requirement. So they roughly took 51 algorithm in their first round of testing. Then the NSA and all the fellow competitor, everyone thoroughly scrutinized all the competitive, all the other algorithms submitted. Finally, in the final round, they shortlisted 5 algorithms. So it happened sometime around after almost a year in 2008. They shortlisted 5 algorithms. One of the requirement of SHA-3 is it should not follow the same family which SHA-1 and SHA-2 followed. That means it should never look like what MD4 look like. It should use a totally different logic so that if people want to attack, they cannot use the attack that they did with MD4 on SHA-3. That is, they cannot use the same technique that was used against SHA-1 and SHA-2. So that was one of the critical requirement for SHA-3 design competition. So I told you, right, there are 5 team which was selected for the final competition. So let's go through some of them because they have some consequences. We will talk about some of the algorithm later as well. So the one of the first team submitted what is called a Blake algorithm. The reason I am telling all the 5 is because some of the algorithm, some improved version is available now. We will see it later. For example, there is something called Blake 2. We will see a bit later. So this Blake algorithm was one of the 5 finalists which came in the SHA-3 competition. It was submitted by the academic researchers from Switzerland and UK. The second algorithm is called Grostel. I don't know how exactly to pronounce this because it's not an English word, okay? This was submitted by a team of 7 academic researchers from Denmark and Austria. They are all cryptographers. The third algorithm, interestingly, was submitted from Singapore. In Singapore, there is a professor called Hong Jun. I don't know exact pronunciation because it's a Chinese word. Hong Jun Wu. JH. From his name, initial JH, he submitted an algorithm called JH algorithm. I think right now this professor is working in a Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. Okay. So he submitted one algorithm. It was also got selected as one of the final round of algorithm. The fourth algorithm is called Keccak. Again, I don't know the exact pronunciation. This was submitted by a team of 4 cryptographers working in a semiconductor company called ST Microelectronics. So this team came from Belgium and Italy. I also worked for ST Microelectronics for 3.5 years. This team came from Belgium and Italy. Okay, they submitted this Keccak algorithm. One of the member of the team, I think by now you know his name, right? It's called Johan. It's a Dutch name. I told about this guy a few episodes back, right? When we discussed AES, I told he is the designer of AES algorithm. Remember Reindahl algorithm, Rijndael. The DAE fellow is nothing but this guy, Johan Damon. So he is also the winner of AES competition. He is also the designer of the Keccak algorithm. The fifth algorithm is called Skein algorithm. It was designed by a team along with a famous cryptographer called Bruce Schneier. Again, I don't know how to exactly pronounce his name. So, if you study cryptography, for sure you would have read his book, right? His book in cryptography is very, very famous, Bruce Schneier. So, Bruce and his team submitted the Skein algorithm. So out of all the 5, after thorough scrutinization, finally they selected a winner and the winner was awarded the name SHA-3. So Keccak was renamed to SHA-3 and the winner is nothing but the same guy who won the AES competition. So he also designed AES algorithm. He is also the designer of SHA-3 algorithm. The SHA-3 is standardized in the NIST publication, special publication under Federal Information Processing Standard 202. It contains similar to SHA-2 algorithm. It also contains 4 variations: SHA-3 224, 256, 384 and 512. Apart from this, it also contains 2 special things called SHA-128 and SHA-256. The SHA is nothing but SHA with Keccak. SHA with Keccak. It is called Extendable Output Function. Extendable Output Function. In short, is usually called EOF. Extendable Output Function. Oh, sorry, not EOF. It's called XOF. Extendable Output Function. The meaning of XOF is, unlike the fixed, for example, if you use SHA-3 2560, the output is going to be fixed, right? Its output is going to be 256. If you want a variable output for whatever reason, you can use this so-called SHA algorithm. The SHA algorithm will allow you to produce variable amount of output. That's why it's called extendable output function. So because of this, the Keccak was very famous because it not only provides a standard housing algorithm, on top of that, it also provides what is called extendable output function in the form of SHA algorithm. The SHA-3 algorithm is very slow if you implement in software. However, if you implement it hardware, right, it's much faster than the all other algorithm, that is SHA-2, SHA-1, all the other competitors, all the other 4 competitors. So if you implement in hardware, it's faster, but if you implement in software, the SHA-3 is slow. That is one of the reason many people nowadays, even though SHA-3 is available, they don't want to upgrade to SHA-3. They are still using SHA-2 because SHA-2 no one has yet broken. So they thought, if nobody has broken, why should I change? Anyway, SHA-3 is slower, right? So as of today, no one has ever broken SHA-3. It's extremely safe and secure. Okay, we will stop our SHA-3 discussion here. If you remember, one of the finalists in the SHA-3 competition, right? I told you there is an algorithm called Blake algorithm, right? This team, after the competition was over, they went ahead and further improved the algorithm and created a new version of Blake called Blake 2. As of today, Blake 2 is much faster than MD5, SHA-1, SHA-2 and SHA-3. So if you are looking for a very fast algorithm, you can consider using Blake 2. So Blake 2 is not only super fast, they also has an optimized version for 32-bit processor, 64-bit processor, multi-core processor. For each of these configuration, they have an optimized algorithm. So it's going to be very fast. So Blake 2 was designed by some of the famous cryptographers. These are the 4 guys who designed. If you remember, Jean-Philippe Amusan is a famous cryptographer, and he has also wrote recently a book called Serious Cryptography. Usually each hashing function inside it will use something called a compression function. So I won't go into the design of the hashing function. Just assume that a hash function internally it use something called a compression function. So this Blake 2 fellow, he used a algorithm from a stream cipher called SHA-20. This SHA-20 itself came from another stream cipher called SHA-20. Later we will learn that in TLS version 1.3, right, the SHA-20 and Poly 1305 is one of the mandatory cipher that should be supported in TLS version 1.3. So this Blake 2 uses for compression function, it uses the logic of the SHA-20. So you might be wondering, right, all these things happen by the standardization from US National Institute of Science and Technology. So around the same time in China also they have their own team of cryptographers. So they also have their own hash function for use inside China. If they want any secret thing inside China, if they want, they can use their own hash function. The hash function is called SM3. So the output of SM3 is similar to SHA-256. Its output is also provide 256 bit the output. Okay. Roughly sometime around December 2007, the so-called Chinese National Cryptographic Administration Bureau, right? They are the one who released the specification of the SM3 hash function, because if they want to build a trusted cryptography module hardware inside the crypto processor for usage in trusted computing framework in China. So that is the main purpose for inventing this SM3 hash function. Not only that, they also have their own block cipher called SM4 block cipher, and they also have their own asymmetric algorithm called SM2 asymmetric algorithm. Okay, so we don't go into the detail of these things, so we will just stick to SM3 hash function. SM3 was invented, or I should say designed by a famous Chinese cryptographer by name, I don't know exactly how to pronounce this, Jiawen Wang. So she is working as a professor in one of the famous university in China. So she designed this SM3 algorithm. She is a mathematician, and she is also very famous for discovering collision attack against MD5 and SHA-1. If you go through the past archive, right, there is a famous conference which is happening every year called Crypto Conference. It is one of the largest collection of academic people who gather at this conference called Crypto Conference. Okay, so in Crypto 2004, she demonstrated how to perform collision attack on MD5, as well as later she demonstrated how to perform attack on SHA-1. So at that conference, if you look at the conference archive, right, you will see everyone was stunned. That is who is this lady? Suddenly some lady is coming from China and totally breaking the MD5 and SHA-1, right? So everyone get up and start clapping, giving a standing ovation for her work. So in Crypto 2004, she showed a collision attack against MD4 as well as the SHA-0 algorithm. Later, the same author, that is the Jiawen, I don't know how to pronounce, the same Wang, she also published a theoretical attack against SHA-1. This happened sometime in 2005. So at that time, she showed a theoretical proof that it should be possible to break SHA-1 in SHA-1. If you remember, 160 bit, right? So if you perform birthday attack, it needs 2 power 80. But she proved that with just 2 power 69, it is possible to break. Within few months, in August 2000 itself, this professor, along with two other co-authors, Andrew and Frances, she showed a theoretical proof that it is possible to break SHA-1 using just 2 power 63 steps. So she did in 2005. It took Google and other fellows to break this practically roughly 12 years. Only this year in 2017 they broke the SHA-1. We also saw a demo of SHA-1 collision, right? So you should never forget, she is an important cryptographer, because in cryptography you often don't find females, right? So you should really appreciate her work. She is a professor in the Department of Mathematics and System Science in the Shandong University. Again, I don't know how to pronounce this. These are all Chinese words. Shandong University. It's in a province called Shandong province. So we learned that China has their own hashing function called SM3. Similarly, Russia from the beginning, they also have their own hashing function. So if you look at their standard, right, similar to the US FIPS standard, the Federal Information Processing Standard, Russia, they have their own standard called Ghost standard. So if you look at the standard R, usually it comes under R34. If you look at R34 11 2012, right, so it has a hashing algorithm called StreeBog hashing function. This itself was created to replace one of the older ghost hash function called 94. The last digit represents the year in which the standard came. So the StreeBog has, as usual, 256 bit output and 512 bit output. It's very strong. Nobody has yet broken the StreeBog algorithm. You might be wondering, right, the name looks a bit odd, right? If you look at this, the StreeBog is actually documented in RFC 6986. RFC 6986. But if you read the RFC, right, you won't find the name StreeBog. The very word came from a Slavic god. In the Russian Slavic mythology, there is a god for wind and storm. That god is called StreeBog. So from this, they got this name StreeBog. Even though if you look at the RFC, right, you do not find this word StreeBog, but it is a nickname they use for this particular hashing function. It's very strong. Nobody has yet broken this algorithm. So we learned that the Russia has their own hash function called StreeBog, right? Similarly, the former Soviet nation called Ukraine, they also have their own hashing function called Kupyna. So it was standardized sometime around 2015. It's there in the Ukrainian standard called, similar to our FIPS standard, right? They have their own national standard called DSTU. It was standardized in 7564/2014. This hashing function was specifically created in order to have a good performance of software implementation on general purpose 64-bit CPUs. Previously, they were using something similar to the Russian hashing function. Generally, when we design the hashing function, right, there are two ways we can design a hashing function. Either you can design a hash function using a block cipher, or you can also design a dedicated hash function. So this Kupyna is basically built from a block cipher. It's the block cipher itself again invented by Ukrainian cryptographer. So they have a block cipher called Kalina block cipher. So this is a block cipher invented by the Ukrainian cryptographer. If you want to learn more about this block cipher, you can refer the standard DSTU. This is the Ukrainian national standard. You can refer in this particular standard. Okay, it's a 2014 standard. So this Kupyna is basically based on this Kalina block cipher. Okay, I think we have to stop here. We have seen an example from at least 4 different countries: the US, China, Russia, and Ukraine. We can stop here. We have already discussed a lot of things about the hashing function. Okay, in summary, in today's episode, we quickly saw a demo of MD5 collision. Then I mentioned that NSA designed a SHA algorithm. It was not secure, so they also designed a SHA-1 algorithm. It took almost 12 years after the theoretical demonstration was found by a Chinese cryptographer, and then it was broken by Google and few other cryptographers sometime around this year, that is in 2017. So SHA-1 is also no longer safe. NSA created an alternate called SHA-2. SHA-2 comes in 4 different variations, and as of today, no one has ever broken SHA-2 algorithm. Still, because SHA-1 and SHA-2 came from the MD4 family, the NSA doesn't want to have a single algorithm, so they want an alternative, and they announced a SHA-3 competition. At the end of the competition, the Keccak was selected as the SHA-3 algorithm, because Keccak not only provides a hash function, it also provides something called extendable output function, right? We saw a shake algorithm example. Okay, then one of the finalists of the SHA-3 competition, he came out after the competition. He built a very fast algorithm called Blake 2 algorithm. As of today, it is faster than MD5, SHA-1, SHA-2, SHA-3, etc. Okay. We also learned about the Chinese SM3 hash function by a lady professor from China. She is also very famous for showing the demo of MD5 collision SHA-1, theoretically submitting the SHA-1 collision in the crypto conference, right? We saw her history a little bit. Then we learned about the Russian StreeBog hash function, as well as the Ukrainian Kupyna hash function. So I just included a few other countries so that you don't have to think that everything is only coming from a single country. Okay, each country has their own cryptographer. With this, we will stop here. I will see you again in the next episode. Thank you.